Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Monday night event. I'm Barbara Schreiner Trudell, and this is the Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake. Let us join together in consciousness as we begin this evening's service. Within the infinite and the absolute, I find life, the power and presence of love, the beauty of joy and celebration. And what I know in this moment is that this evening is a gift and a blessing. That whatever is said or heard, whatever is received and shared, whatever happens is an expression of the divine. And for that, I am truly, truly grateful. Grateful for this day, grateful for this gathering, grateful for each one of us gathered here. So with grace and gratitude, with love and celebration, I release these ideas into the law of mind. I know it is done, all is well, and so it is. So we start with the land acknowledgement. We work, live, play in the modern day city of Toronto on the historical and traditional territory of many Indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe and Wendat peoples, and more recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit and Haudenosaunee nations. And as we gather from many places on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here. And we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, including the Métis, Inuit, and all other Indigenous people. And although I'm not a person of African descent, I'm committed to continually acting in support of and in solidarity with Black communities seeking freedom and reparative justice in light of the history and ongoing legacy of slavery that continues to impact Black communities in Canada and the US. As part of this commitment, I'd also like to acknowledge that not all people came to these lands as migrants and settlers. Specifically, I wish to acknowledge those who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. In support of our ongoing efforts to confront anti-Black racism, we pay tribute to these ancestors of African origin and descent. We also acknowledge the contributions made both in shaping and strengthening our community. And by making these acknowledgements, we strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. The vision of CSL on the Lake is transforming humanity through the emergence of the sacred, authentic self. So in celebration of Black History Month, we take a moment in Canadian history to share a story of somebody truly remarkable. And Isaac Phills is that. He is the first Black man to be awarded the Order of Canada. And he called home Whitney Pier, Nova Scotia. Now, when Isaac Phills was awarded the Order of Canada in Canada's centennial year for 1967, it was a significant honor for him and his community. A man born in dire poverty in the West Indies before coming to Canada, and while he may have a special place in Canadian history to receive such a prestigious award, of equal significance is the role he played in showing his immigrant community of Whitney Pier, Cape Breton's historic melting pot, that any man, through hard work and determination, could overcome hardship and build a rich life for themselves and their families in a new land. In short, Phills wasn't honored for being a captain of industry or a well-known politician or athlete. He was recognized for the example he showed in building a good life for his family. All 7 children received excellent educations and found their places in the world as ministers, doctors, teachers, chemists, and nurses. And today his name is largely forgotten, except in Whitney Pier, where his example continues to inspire the young people of the community that their future is what they make it to be, not what others determine it to be. And isn't that the message of CSL? Creating a consciousness that works, a consciousness that allows us to build a new life. So on that note, it is time for meditation. So I invite you to Welcome, Rev M.E.
Good evening. I am Reverend M.E., and I'd like you to take a couple of centering breaths with me as we begin our meditation. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And if you will, allow these words to wash over you. And if you are at ease, make them your own. What treasure would I seek and find and keep that can compare with my identity? This true identity has remained as it always was, pure spirit, forever, changeless, peaceful, and at one with God, awaiting only our recognition. There is no conflict that does not entail the single, simple question, what am I? Every decision you make stems from what you think you are and represents the value that you put upon yourself. Only an illusion stands between you and the holy self you share. You who perceive yourself as weak and frail, with futile hopes and devastated dreams, born but to die, to weep and suffer pain. Hear this now. All power is given unto you in earth and heaven. There is nothing that you cannot do. You will identify with what you think will make you safe. Whatever it may be, you will believe that it is one with you. Your safety lies in truth and not in lies. Love is your safety. Fear does not exist. Identify with love, and you are safe. Identify with love, and you are home. Identify with love and find yourself. Let me not forget, myself is nothing, but myself is all. I was created as the thing I seek. Now I invite you to place your hands on your heart as I prepared an affirmation for us to share. I will say it once, and then I would love you to join me in repeating it twice. I am exactly where I need to be. Together, I am exactly where I need to be. And again, I am exactly where I need to be. And now I introduce our beloved Reverend Barbara, who will deliver her talk, My World Transformed Through the Power of Love. Namaste.
Thanks, Emmy. That was lovely. That idea of love being the transformative power. And I really love that. I'm exactly where I need to be. What a great affirmation. When we say that, we allow ourselves to be in whatever situation we find ourselves in, which is really, really powerful. Sometimes we're resisting what is. And of course, resisting what is doesn't always work all that well for us. You know, what is is. So I wanted to ask a couple of questions to begin. Given what we've been through over the last 3 years, do you ever wonder when things will return to normal? Like, is that a question that you ask yourself? Or how to change the things which appear to be making life hell? You know, what is the answer to that? I think sometimes we forget that, you know, what we think about and the words that we're using and the way we're using them actually keeps them in place and creates a greater sense of that suffering that we might be going through. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind wrote, "The law of mind, which is the medium of all action, is a law of perfect balance. The objective world perfectly balances the images within the subjective world. Everything in the physical universe is an effect and exists only by virtue of some invisible cause. Our individuality enables us to make use of the laws as we desire. We are not bound, not by limitation, but by limited thought. The same power which binds us will free us when we understand the law to be one of liberty and not of bondage. The power within us can free us from all distasteful conditions if the law governing this power is properly understood and utilized." Wow, what a great statement. You know, what's interesting is that we journey along and, you know, things happen, right? Things happen. And when these things happen, often what we do is we point our fingers, right? We blame circumstance, situation, we blame people. We, you know, we find a way of, you know, kind of putting it out in front of us rather than being an aspect of our own selves. If we will, in fact, take responsibility, what we can do is we can heal our experience, but we can also transform our world. The world is not going back to what it was. We never regress in such a way. We always move forward. And if we think this is the only time in history that there's been an interruption, we need to, you know, think back a few years to the Great Depression, although that was a North American thing. We can think back to World War I or World War II. There's lots of things that have happened in the world that have changed the trajectory of who we are and what we do and how we do it. So we're on a new plan, a new strategy. We are moving forward in ways that will take us to places that we've never been before. And that's what's really exciting and beautiful. When we give up the idea of wanting things to return to what they were, we actually open ourselves up to the possibility of creating something new and wonderful. And the idea of love, although, you know, many of us have different interpretations of what that word means, the way I'm using it here is the very aspect of life, the energy that we would refer to as this infinite source or substance, the unifying force of life. So this unifying force is taking us in a direction that we can allow to have happen, or we can struggle and cause limitation, right? We can hold ourselves back, or we can free ourselves up and allow something wonderful to occur. The journey that we're on as co-creators, we can begin to create a new world order that actually we enjoy. We can begin to live in harmony and love rather than in struggle. So one of the things I've noticed from myself as well as others is there's this idea that things have to be hard, that change is hard, that a new world order is hard, that fixing some challenge in our life is hard, that change, no matter how you look at it, is hard. So what if we began to change the language of that? What if instead of saying, oh, this is hard or that is hard, we change that 4-letter word of hard to another 4-letter word? Not that one. The new 4-letter word would be easy. See, what we heard in that quote by Ernest Holmes is the law of mind, which is the medium of all action, is a law of perfect balance. The objective world perfectly balances the images within the subjective world. So what that means is that the world I'm living in, the experiences I'm having, the way my life is looking, all comes from something within me. There's an idea, a subjective idea in me that allows for my life to look the way it does. Now, that's both the good news and the bad news. The good news is I can change it because I created it. The bad news is I created it. But again, the good news, I can change it because I created it. So we're looking at life from a new vantage point. If we will sit in each moment and go, it is what it is, and just take a deep breath and be with what is rather than resisting it, what happens is we begin to formulate a new pathway. We begin to create the possibility of something new to occur. And that's what we're looking for, not to return to the old way of being, but rather to create something new and wonderful and beautiful. And to do that from this divine idea that I call love. And like I say, by love, I'm not talking about an emotion. I'm talking about the universe, God, spirit, first cause, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm speaking of when I speak about the idea of love. So it might be a little different than what some of us consider, but the idea of love is such a profound one. When we realize that we are all connected, right? When we realize our oneness, we start to realize that the way we think about each other actually matters. The way we act or think about ourselves, the way we, look at ourselves in the mirror. Last week I was in a convention with CSL and it was really wonderful and powerful. And one of the speakers came on and she talked about, she's a practitioner in Science Mind, and she talked about her practice when she wakes up in the morning. And she goes in the mirror and she goes, "Good morning, gorgeous. I am Joy." And I thought, wow, what a beautiful way to acknowledge yourself as your day begins. Whether we're using affirmations, positive statements, whether we're taking time to acknowledge any negativity that might be going on in our mind, whatever's going on for us, we have the power to change that. If something's happening that's causing us to feel distressed, we can begin to shift that by looking in a new direction. So we use things like affirmations. We'll do spiritual mind treatment. We'll read positive material or watch some sort of inspiring television program or movie that allows us to begin to feel that greater connection. Ultimately, what we want to do is connect with our essence, to find that authentic aspect of ourselves that we can begin to let out into the world that frees us from all limitation. I just started reading a book called The 4 Pivots, which is about reimagining justice and reimagining ourselves. It was written by Sean Ginwright. And in the introduction to the book, he talks about 4 lies about social change. One is that deep change can be achieved through shallow solutions. The second is the more we have, the more power we have, the more change we can create. The third is we can strategize solutions for social change. And the fourth is us versus them. And the one that I want to talk about tonight actually is us versus them. I think there's a lot of that going on right now, probably. Well, I don't know if it's more than other times. It's just really obvious to me at the moment that there is a lot of us versus them. And what we want to do, what I love about this book is he's talking about a pivot. And a pivot is like a small adjustment. It's not something huge, like I got to change everything to get to that new reality, but rather it is an opportunity for me to adjust my thinking, even subtly. And through those subtle changes, begin to see a larger shift in the world. He says in the book, what's needed is a fundamental shift in our values, a pivot in how we think, connect, act, and work. So a pivot is a small change in direction from a single point where we are. And it means that through one small change in direction over time, we can get where we want to be. So when I think about, where I want to be, I mean, I'm really looking forward to a world that is peaceful. And maybe that's a rather lofty idea, but, when you think about it, it is possible. Might not seem likely at the moment, but it's possible. And the way it happens is we begin to connect with each other in a totally different way than maybe we have in the past. We give up the ideas of competition and, again, back to that us versus them idea, and come to a place of recognizing that each and every person on the planet is a soul in expression. And all of us are created a little bit differently, but all of us are essential. So each person is created perfect, whole, and complete. And if that's true, then can we begin to look at one another in that way, rather than in the way of judgment and criticism, because you're not like me, or you said or did something that hurt my feelings, or I'm feeling a bit disconnected from you. We're not connecting in the way I want, or you're not behaving in the way that I want or that I like. And so I feel a sense of separation. But if we begin to change our mind, if we begin to think in a new way, if we begin to come to that place of expressing our divine wholeness, right? The vision statement of CSL on the Lake is, transforming humanity through the emergence of the sacred, authentic self. And what that means is each one of us being who we are, not coming to a meeting or coming to a gathering or connecting with one another, with those masks that we wear, where we sit back and try to be the person that people will like. But instead of trying to fit in, we choose to stand out. We choose to stand up, be seen, be heard. We choose to acknowledge our unique nature, to celebrate it even, to be able to look in the mirror and go, "Good morning, gorgeous," and actually mean it, like have it put a smile on our face because we choose to love who we are. The gifts that we have are so essential to humanity at this time, and yet sometimes the natural gifts we have, we judge them as insignificant, unimportant, whatever, right? I've heard many people do this over the years. And it's really important that we begin to see our own genius. Every one of us is created with a special little something that only we have. And it is needed by humanity today. It's needed. Well, it always has been. But most especially in this moment, if we want to create something new, something beautiful, if we want to create a world that works for the highest and best good of all, we have to start where we are, which is we have to start with ourselves. Okay? I can only change me. I cannot change anyone else. I can only change me. So what we do is we can create a daily practice. And I think our spiritual practice is so important. Meditation, spiritual mind treatment or prayer, reading something positive and uplifting, taking time in silence and time in nature to simply be in the world. When we do that, when we begin to refocus our thinking, when we begin to choose, when I'm thinking, I wake up in the morning and I haven't slept well and I'm a little bit cranky and grumbly. My husband shared a pun today that made me laugh. He was like, "Yeah, I woke up grumpy this morning. And then I decided to let her sleep a little bit longer tomorrow instead." It's like, nice. The idea that we can laugh or joke or play is so essential to our well-being. If we can take time to be less serious and to acknowledge instead the wonder of life itself, to be in awe of the things that are occurring and really celebrating life and the world, when we start to see that we're part of everything, it doesn't matter what it is, we are part of everything. When we look at quantum physics, we see that everything is energy and everything is energy. right? If everything is energy, everything is one thing, right? And that's what we teach here. There's one thing going on and we're all some part of it. And so if we can come to a place of accepting ourselves as we are and who we are, we can begin to give that into the world, which will have a positive impact overall, beginning with ourselves. We will feel better. That hiding that we do harms us. That hiding or that pretending that we do, there's nothing real about that. And so what we want to do is begin to create affirmations that allow us to shine in a new way. So part of that might be, waking up and saying, "Good morning, gorgeous." It might also be making affirmations like, "I am extraordinary. I am a divine idea in the mind of the one. I truly am love and light, peace and joy, expressing here and now. I am health." And as we begin to say these affirmations, they only have strength and value when we can start believing them. So we want to begin to reshape our thought process so that we can create a life that is really honoring of who we actually are. So we drop the veils, we drop the masks, and we sit instead with an idea or an understanding that I am created perfect, whole, and complete. So let me begin talking to myself in that way. Because I want you to think for a minute. What does your self-talk say about you? We all have moments of doubt or worry or ideas that somehow I'm not enough. And maybe these are messages we received as children, or maybe they're messages that we're still receiving now. And we get to choose if we believe them or not. We can choose right now to change the trajectory of our lives by choosing to see ourselves in a way that is more honest. Yes, I said honest. You see, I think we lie to ourselves a lot because we received messages that were inaccurate. They were projections. And so as we move forward and we look at how do we deal with this new world that we live in, this post-pandemic experience, I'm not sure it's post yet, but we're getting there. As we begin to live in this world, how do we navigate it in a way that is really powerful and positive, but also teaches not only us, but the people around us how remarkable and loved that they are, that the appreciation we share, the gratitude we share with each other, how that can make a difference overall. So I invite you to think about your own place in the world and to think about where you are right now. Do you have anything going on that isn't really working well for you, something that you don't like? And I'm sure most of us could put our hand up and say, yeah, I got a little something. What I want you to do is think about what that is. Just take a moment and draw a breath and just think about one area that's causing a challenge or a struggle. Now, what I want you to do is think about the opposite of that. Like, for example, if you had an illness, some disease, what if you began to say to yourself, every time you wanted to think, I am sick, you started to think, I am healthy, I am health, I am perfect, whole, and complete, I am health. That the interruption in the moment when you're struggling to say, I am. Or what if you don't have enough money to pay your bills and you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm broke. What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? What will happen? What if you stopped as soon as that thought came in and went, just a minute, I'm part of an abundant universe. I'm an heir to the kingdom. So I'm going to, in this moment, affirm instead that I am abundantly prospered and supplied in all things, in all ways, at all times. I'm going to create the affirmation to deal with whatever I'm thinking. Maybe there's a part of me that doesn't feel lovable, that thinks that people don't like me very much, that there's, something about me that's wrong and people can't appreciate me. We can sit back and begin to affirm, I am love. I am adored and respected. I'm admired and appreciated. Life is flowing beautifully and my relationships are spectacular. I welcome and embrace love in every moment. So we can take whatever is going on and we can begin to transform it, not by dwelling on it, worrying about it, getting upset about it, being angry at ourselves for creating it, but rather to sit back and say, hey, wait a minute, I am powerful. I am creative. I am intelligent. I have the power to change this. And I know I have that power because I created it. Okay, that somehow I allowed myself to believe in the stories of the world around me. I believed in the stories somebody told me about me. Somebody said, this is possible, that's impossible. I believed it. Well, I can change that belief right now. What if we're looking for a new career? What if we're like, hey, I want to do a different type of work, or I don't like the boss that I'm working for right now. So how do I create something new? Or maybe I want to earn more in the position that I have. What do I do about that? And again, we begin to talk about, I am gifted and talented in the things that I do, and I'm prospered by sharing my unique genius the way that I am. In the world, it makes a difference. And we begin to create a new story. And as we create that new story, we begin to change our lives for the better. Now, not every single thing we experience is created by us because, of course, we are a collective. There's 8 billion people on the planet. There are beliefs that are running rampant that we will be subjected to if we have not withdrawn ourselves consciously from that level of consciousness. Okay, so we want to act in a space of love. And what love means is oneness. Now, in some teachings, you will hear the phrase namaste. And what that means is the divine in me greets the divine in you. I see you for who you really are, not for your behavior, the way that you dress, right? Not for your age or attributes or, accolades or whatever. I greet you as a soul to a soul. I see you not as someone to compete with, not as somebody who's better than me or less than me, but rather a divine equal, my soul family. I greet you in this state of love and grace. And as I do that, I see you. And you can see me. And this makes a huge change. We began to heal our lives and our world, not by forcing things to happen or resisting things we don't like, but rather embracing all of it, knowing that even the difficult thing that is occurring is taking me somewhere. It has reminded me of something. It is showing me maybe what I don't want so that I can get a clear picture of what I do want. So we begin to work with what is. Eckhart Tolle wrote the book, The Power of Now. Now is the only point of power. Now is the only point of power. It's the only thing that actually exists. The past does not exist. And so we cannot change it. So we need to let it go. The future does not exist. It has not arrived yet. But what will create it is what I think and do now. The power of now is an infinite power of pure potential. And in this now moment, I can begin to think in a new way. I can pay attention. So when we get up in the morning, we can set an intention. Today, I choose to be loving, kind, and supportive, first to me, and then to my worldly family. I choose that. You see, when we set an intention, now you heard that only took a second to say, right? When I set an intention, what happens is throughout the day, when all of a sudden I go, oh man, I can't believe that I did such a terrible job at my workout, or oh man, look at this traffic, I'm going to be late. And all of a sudden we're getting worried and fretful and limited. All of a sudden that intention drops in and goes, wait a minute. And it's like, oh yeah, right. My intention was, and then in that moment, we can change what we're thinking. See, we're powerful. I can think a negative thought and go, well, oh, I'm thinking negative again. Okay, let me switch that. I am love, I am light, I am peace, I am joy. I am with my beloved earthly family, and I'm grateful for every soul and every gift they bring into my awareness. You see, the challenges that we face are opportunities to redirect our attention and focus. The walls that we bump up against, we have a choice. We can continue to bang our head against them, or we can sit back and go, let me just look in another direction. Maybe there's something I'm missing. And as we do that, we begin to see the greater possibility and potential that's there for us. You see, we are powerful. We have been convinced that we're not. We have been taught and trained to fit in, to do what certain people tell us to do because they know better. And I'm here to tell you they don't. They don't know you. You know you. You know who you are. And if you will garner the courage to be that, to stand in that, to show that to the world. Yes, it can take courage, but it's really worth it. Because as you stand in your true full potential, as you stand out rather than trying to fit in, all of a sudden people begin to see you, to acknowledge you, to notice you. And as a result of that, the life that you create, not only for yourself, but for everyone, is really remarkable. It's a gift of love. So when I talk about a world that's transformed, I'm talking about the world that we can live in the moment that each one of us chooses to be who we are. Not some fabrication of something that we think would be good, but who we are. I mean, I remember as a young woman looking at everybody else thinking they were prettier, thinner, taller, better, smarter, more creative. Like, wow, what a lot of energy wasted. The teens that I work with today, I remind them, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're remarkable. And it doesn't matter what anybody else tells you. That's the truth of you. You are created perfect, whole, and complete. And I'm telling all of you that right now. The stories we've been told, the ways that we've lived have brought us to where we are. But we can begin to pivot. We can begin to pivot. We can start small and go, what if? What if instead of fitting in today, I decided to stand up for myself, to share what I really think? And of course, to do it in a loving and kind and respectful way, but to be honest. To be honest, if you're feeling upset by something someone has said or done, to look them in the eye and go, wow, that I'm feeling a little off as a result of that. To share with another person how deeply you love them, how important they are in your life. Not because you have to, because you want to. Looking at each person around you and seeing their value and worth. Greeting each individual with that namaste greeting. The divine in me sees the divine in you, acknowledges it. Imagine if you were to do that with every person, that you began to become a beacon of light, that when you entered a room or entered a space, you automatically began to feel that energy and to express that energy of oneness, that pure love, instead of being judgmental of what somebody's wearing or the way they speak or what they know or don't know or how special they appear to be because they're a doctor or a president or a whatever they are, but instead to see the divinity within each person and to honor them for that, to choose to love them right where they are. Someone who is struggling in life doesn't need our projection of, oh my God, you're at it again, but needs instead my honoring of you are where you are. And by choosing love, whether I say it or simply feel it, because we're connected, right? That energy permeates everything. And because we're connected, we create that greater sense of harmony and possibility. Life's happening either way, right? Ultimately, we're all headed somewhere. I like to think that we're on a journey. It just doesn't have a destination. We're here to live. We're here to discover, to experience. I think we come into this life to have experiences, to connect, to feel. And so when we're doing our spiritual mind treatment, which for me is one of the most powerful tools we can use to transform our current reality, spiritual mind treatment is it could be called affirmative prayer. And what it is a concise way of speaking truth into any situation, of looking at what it is that we desire rather than what it is we don't. Instead of thinking about what's wrong or bad or difficult in our lives, to turn it around and go, what is it that I truly desire? So, for example, if I was to do treatment for health, I would talk about the fact that there is one power in the universe, infinite, creative, intelligent, all-powerful, all-knowing, and everywhere present equally. And then I would acknowledge, because it's everywhere, it must be right here where I am. It must be me. And because it's being me, I can use that power. I can use it creatively and intelligently. I can use it consciously. And so in this moment, what I know is I am health, that my body is perfect, whole, and complete, that every cell knows exactly what it needs to do to reveal its wholeness. So every cell operates harmoniously with every other cell. And I acknowledge that, wow, I am so grateful for health. I am so grateful for health. I'm so grateful for this moment of expressing beauty and grace and goodness and strength and power and possibility. I'm grateful for health. And I release these ideas into the law of mind action, for I know it is already done. And so it is. It's like there's this idea of changing the story, flipping the script. And I can use that same thing for wealth, for my career, for my relationships, for my world. And so if I pray peace, I don't pray for it, I pray peace. I don't pray for health, I pray health. I don't pray for wealth, I pray wealth. I am. I am the two most powerful words in our language. I am. As we begin to acknowledge the I am presence, as we begin to acknowledge this power as infinite and eternal, as we begin to live from this place of co-creation, we begin to see that life can be what we choose to make it. And when we're not there, when we're not able to do that, that's when we turn to a prayer practitioner. That's when we turn to somebody who can see us, who can say, yes, you can. I know you can. And begins to know the truth for you, to assist you as you begin to know the truth for yourself. You see, we're all on a journey, nothing withheld. Today is a new day. We're transforming our minds and our hearts that we might live in a new world, a world of peace, of love, of collaboration and cooperation, compassion and kindness, a world that is respectful, loving, honoring a world that works for the highest and best good of everyone. Let's start. Thank you. Oh, wow. So we have a couple of announcements. We have a class that's running on Saturdays. It started this past week. It's a 6-week class. You can still join this weekend if you would like to. It's a class on Thomas Troward, and it really is about shifting consciousness. So exactly what we were talking about tonight, how to do that and how to create that. And then in March, I'm doing a class on prayer, a spiritual mind treatment class. It'll be offered in the afternoons on Saturday, and it'll be an opportunity to really begin to work with this tool called spiritual mind treatment. So everyone is welcome to join that. Spirit Cafe runs every Wednesday at noon Eastern time. And so you're invited to log into YouTube, to Spirit Cafe show on YouTube, and join us for a conversation. We talk about all manner of different things, and it's really an exciting opportunity to hear maybe some topics that aren't generally talked about. So really, really great. Friday is the Joy Show. And so this Friday, my guest is a woman by the name of Lillian, who is a refugee here from Uganda. A woman who, if she's forced to go home, will actually probably be executed fairly quickly for the fact that she is a gay woman, which is not legal there. So we're working to keep her in Canada. So that show should be very interesting on Friday. And also Friday night, I'm doing the Good News on the New Thought Media Network. And we don't have a slide for that, but the Good News runs from 7 to 7:30 Eastern time. And it's just some interesting, inspiring stories. So if you go on YouTube to the New Thought Media Network, you'll be able to check in and watch the Good News. I'm doing it this week and next week. I'll host that. So much good stuff. Tax receipts went out. If there's any challenges with your receipt, if there's something that doesn't feel quite right, just let us know. We're working through all the little things that we need to work through doing this the first time. This is our first year in sending out these donation receipts, so we want to make sure that they're accurate. And so do let us know if you have any questions. And they were sent out by email, some by snail mail. If you got it in an email, but you prefer to have it in snail mail, just give us a call with your full address and we will mail it out to you. All righty. Well, thank you for being here tonight. This is my love to be able to spend this time with you. And I hope that something said or done reaches you in a way that helps you to live your life in the most positive, productive, and powerful way. And like all things, of course, we have expenses that we need to cover. And so we welcome your gifts and donations. And just know that all that we do comes from a place of love and joy. And we're grateful that you're here sharing this with us. So many ways to give. You can give by e-transfer to admin@cslonthelake.com. You can also donate by mailing a check if that's what you like to do. And you mail that to our address, 38 Kootenay Crescent in Toronto, M1J1R7. Or you can go on our website and just click the donate or give link and donate in that way. So many ways to give, so many opportunities. I'm really grateful you joined us tonight. So let us close with a beautiful closing treatment. And don't forget, we hang out for a few minutes after service just to chit chat with one another and check in and create community. So you're invited to stick around after this prayer treatment. I breathe in the fullness of life, the beauty of the moment. I relax my body. I quiet myself to the place of acknowledging and hearing that still small voice. That voice within that allows me to remember, to acknowledge, to accept that there really is only one thing going on and that I am some part of it. that there is an energy and vibration in the universe that is infinite, creative, and intelligent, everywhere present equally, all-knowing. It is in acknowledging that and recognizing that and realizing I'm one with it that I begin to see that the courage that I need to be who I am is actually not even necessary. I am a divine idea in the mind of the one, a truly eternal being of love and light, filled with potential and possibility, and all that I have need of. Everything necessary to create a life that is fulfilling and satisfying, to create a world that is peaceful, powerful, positive, brilliant. It's all available in and through each and every one of us. So I breathe life into this moment. And I accept that what is. Any challenge is showing me where I need to shift direction or focus. And all the gifts and blessings that come, I receive with gratitude. Life is a glorious journey filled with potential. Seeing it as such, I welcome each moment with an open heart. I welcome each person with love and gratitude, with a sense of curiosity and discovery. For I know that each story is important, each individual a gift and a blessing. And this is how I receive my world. So filled with love and grace, gratitude, and wonder and awe, I release these ideas into the law of mind. All is well, and I let that be the truth. I let go, it is done, and together we say, and so it is. And let's just make it so you can unmute yourselves so we can check in and say hello to one another. Hi, everybody.